Welcome back to Women's Wealth, The Middle Way, the show that answers your questions about work, money, and family. My name is Susan McGlory Michael, and I am the CEO and founder of Glen Eagle, a wealth management firm in New Jersey. Our guest today is Kelly Hoey, author and network strategist. Kelly is passionate about helping professionals build a meaningful connection that go well beyond business cards and small talk. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you for having me, Susan.
What you do is so intriguing because so many of us are so worried about this. I'm thrilled to have you here today to bring to light. Maybe we could begin by talking a little bit about your background and what led you to become a networking strategist. That is such a new term and sort of intriguing to me. So if you could give me a little bit about your background and how that journey that got you to where you are today.
Well, it's not what I set out to do, that's for sure. My advice always to people is to listen to your network because they may see more in you than you see in yourself, and they may decipher what your secret sauce is. My career began very linearly. I graduated high school, immediately went to university, got an advanced degree, and became a lawyer. And I was a lawyer for 12 plus years before having the idea that I needed to do something else. So part of how I think about networking is that long-term relationship building that you get in a professional, customer-focused business. But it was when I was working in management for a global law firm, I had a boss who said to me, Kelly, you do this thing networking differently, and you need to tell other people and educate them on how to do it, your way. And I remember I looked at him, Tim is his name, and I said, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, Tim. And then 10 years later, when I wrote my book, Build Your Dream Network, I had to email him and eat crow. And he's, I think, the first named acknowledgement in the book, because I really couldn't see, Susan, how what I did in my mind, doesn't everybody do it this way? I didn't see how it was different. And so, again, as I say to people, listen to what your network asks from you, because that's either giving you a signal of something you should do more of, or a way that you should shift your behavior so they're not requesting the thing you don't want to do.
And Kelly, I actually love the title of that book, Build Your Dream Network. I love that title. So many, especially our listeners today, are introverts, or they find networking to be absolutely draining. What's one strategy that makes networking feel more natural and less overwhelming to some of us?
First of all, I'd say, Susan, change your definition of networking. We think that networking means that you need to be an extrovert, right? All of us need an extrovert or two in our arsenal of people in our orbit, because there might be that Thanksgiving dinner where you need someone to make conversation, right? Or you need to sit that extrovert down at the table to keep an aunt or an uncle or some family member in line. But think about it this way. Extroverts need the company to fuel them. Introverts are more like our smartphones. We need to be plugged in every once in a while. So when I say change your definition of networking, there is no one right personality type that is better at building human relationships. Both are equally good. They do it differently. Understand where you excel, where you are comfortable, where your energy soars, where it needs to have preparation, an extra charge like your smartphone, where it needs an extra plug in because you know it's going to get drained because you're going to be out all day. Figure those things out. And my best piece of advice for introverts, if anyone tells you to network like an extrovert, or they send you an article that's like the 5 things introverts can do to be more like extroverts, please discard the advice. Ignore it. Because if you're networking and connecting, not in a way that is authentic and genuine and aligned with your purpose, your values, your personality, that's going to come shining through to everyone you're talking to and is not sustainable.
You're making me smile because years ago I read the book Quiet, and it was empowering. And actually exactly what you're saying aligns with what the book's philosophy was. And as women, maybe what are some of the common mistakes you see women making, and how can they correct it along the way or grow from it?
For women, my second networking book focuses exclusively on the networks that women need to excel and achieve whatever their personal definition of success is. And one of the biggest failures for women is not networking with other women and not consistently building relationships. And by that, I mean, you do not need to be out networking all the time, but finding ways to stay in touch as opposed to only showing up when you need to. Mistakes I see women make is, besides not networking with other women or only showing up when they need something and letting, I would say, their network kind of fall. And hey, life gets busy, but sending a text, remembering a birthday, there's small touch ways that we can stay in touch. The other mistake I see women make is they consume the poison of one bad interaction with another woman. And they say, oh, women are all like this. And I'm like, but why are you consuming that poison and continuing those behaviors? Because this network is one that is really critical. What's interesting, Susan, in researching my second book, several longitudinal studies in multiple corporations over a 15-year period, and where you're really comparing apples to apples in terms of the people they were hiring based on their credentials and their backgrounds and their grades and all that good stuff. And when they took out factors accounting for maybe bias or other factors, they found that some women, a select category, were busting through the glass ceiling. They were achieving more than their equally motivated and talented female peers. And it came down to the network and showing that women need to network with other women. We need to, yes, be very goal-focused. Yes, we need to have exceptional time management and think about ways that, oh, I can't mentor one-on-one, but what if I mentored one-to-many? What if I tacked on that 5 minutes that someone says they need with me to the meeting we already have? Like, they're very, I'm going to say, savvy that way. But the interesting thing that really shone through in these studies was networking with other women, prioritizing that, and continuously connecting into networks, even if they didn't need anything. And that's how the select group, the smaller group of women, were excelling even when their talented peers had stalled in their careers.
I can't agree with you more. And when you were speaking, the word that kept popping in my mind was kindness. And actually, that as women, we have such a power for that maternal gift of connecting, good listening, and really an inner ability to want to care and give back. And I think that sometimes we negate that or we push it down and we don't empower it. The second book that you've written, I think, is so desperately needed in our society today. So I thank you for that. Every time we ask a guest to come on, we always kind of leave because the women listening today would say, what advice would you give us as women who are just maybe starting to intentionally build a professional network or looking to come back into the workforce and revitalize those connections maybe that have faded a little bit? And I know you had touched upon it a little bit, but if you're going to leave us today with some starting points, because I think it's overwhelming, especially if you've been out of the workforce and you're coming back, or as you did, as a lawyer, a powerful lawyer who says, I'm going to give up this lucrative profession and I'm going to go with my passion or my dream of networking. What would you say to those women? Where do they begin? Where do they start if we broke it down? I always say when you keep it simple, your ability to achieve it is greater.
The best piece of advice I would have to people is be the person you'd like to network, connect, or reconnect with. Whether you're meeting someone in person, whether you're sending an email, be the person that you would like to hear from, be the person that you would like to follow up with. And I think if you can gauge your behavior on that, you will be guided very wisely and successfully.
And Kelly, today, just hearing the power of your voice and your excitement, you give anyone listening energy to say, I can do this. So thank you. You can, sometimes you just see, we've never met in person, yet your voice, I can feel your mannerisms coming right through the phone. I think in a room, I would love to meet you someday and network and connect. But thank you for joining us today. Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Women's Wealth, The Middle Way. Make sure to subscribe to us and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast app. Join us for new episodes every other Wednesday. See you in 2 weeks.